Welcome to this edition of What's the Score? Let me remind you, if you enjoyed today's podcast, please click the like button wherever you listen to this program. And if you'd like to support this and future programs, I encourage you to become a patron via patreon.com. There'll be details to follow in the middle of the program. We couldn't do the program without our patrons, so thank you. And enjoy today's wonderful podcast. Today's program made possible by patrons like you. Welcome to where we celebrate music from the movies. From the golden age to present day, we've got it all covered. We talk to those in the entertainment industry and find out about their favorite scores. You found the podcast, What's the Score? I'm your host, Frank R. Wilson. So sit back, relax, grab a popcorn, and let's see what we'll be hearing today. Recognize that music? It's a favorite of our guest today. Now, our guest is someone who has many roles that he juggles daily. He's a business consultant, but his connection to the entertainment industry lies elsewhere. He's also a creator of the website From Sweden with Love, which is devoted to the world of James Bond. You should check it out. He's also a talent manager of actors based all around the world. He's organized numerous events celebrating James Bond in various locations around the world. And how he found time to be with us is amazing, to say the least, but we're glad he did. So please join me in welcoming Anders Frejdh to the program. Welcome, Anders.
Thank you, Frank. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Oh, man, my pleasure indeed, really. I've been looking forward to our discussion. You're quite a, what do they call people like yourself, influencers, big-time podcasters and those sorts of things, so I'm really delighted to have you on the program today.
I'm delighted too. It's like you said, people call me various things, but I don't mind any of them, so that's good.
Hopefully, they call you mostly good things. So,
absolutely, thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. As all my listeners know, I always like to learn a little bit more about the person first, separate from what they're known for. So I was curious if you maybe could tell us a little bit about yourself, your formative years growing up and schooling and family and things like that. So just kind of give us an idea of who you are as a person.
Sure. Well, I'll be 51 years old in a couple of weeks. I live in Stockholm, but I've lived here for about 20 years now, but originally I come from a very small town with just 10,000 people. It's called Jo. And it's located, you can say, between Gothenburg and Stockholm, next to one of the biggest lakes that we have here. So it's a very nice city in the summertime. And I have a dog and a girlfriend, and I have a sister who actually lives in Gothenburg. When I grew up in this small town, my grandfather was my hero, and I mean in many ways still is my hero, even though he's no longer alive. But because I was his oldest grandchild, and he influenced me to start my own companies, which I have now, because he started his own company in the 60s. So he was like a mentor to me in many ways. I miss him. He passed away now 15 years ago, but I miss him to this day, actually, because he always called me. Even if we were not living in the same city for a long time, in the end, he called me regularly and checked in on me, and was always very curious to hear how my life was going and so forth. So that meant a lot to me. And my passion for Bond, you can say, started in the mid 1980s.
Well, we'll get to that, and we'll get to that here in just a little bit.
Yep.
It, it's interesting the influence that grandparents have on many of us. I hear that quite a bit.
Mm.
Was there something in
Yeah.
particular that was special about the influence that he had on you?
Well, I mean, he came from very simple surroundings, you can say. I mean, didn't have much money growing up, and he left school quite early to sort of go his own way in life. And he created his own family with 3 kids. Started his company from scratch, basically putting all the money he had saved the years before it's at risk, basically, because if the company hadn't succeeded, he would have lost that money. But thankfully, it went well, and so in that sense, he's been an inspiration for me because I've always, I mean, I should be honest. I had a well, you can call it a dream or a vision or something like that. But I would have wanted to go into the family company when I was younger. So I went on to study engineering because it was an engineering company. But doing so, and I was working there, I was doing bits and pieces both in the office, in the workshop, and also taking care of the gardens actually, because outside the factory. But when I was studying engineering in my early 20s, I realized that engineering is really not where my interest and my passion is, because I was much more interested in finance and economy and such matters. So I ended up graduating from university with 2 degrees, actually, one in mechanical engineering and one in business administration.
Huh.
But I haven't really worked as an engineer ever since I left university. But of course, I have some. I usually say I have a knowledge about technology and engineering which most economists don't have, because I've got double degrees. But so I guess it has. I have benefited from it in some ways.
That's good. Yeah, that's good to hear. And it's not, believe me, from the people I've talked to, it's not unusual for people to study something at the university level and then all of a sudden discover, it happened to my daughter for that matter. Hey, this isn't, and I'm not sure this is what I want to do. And I applaud you for kind of recognizing that and saying, well, hey, well, let's look into something else a little bit and look for other opportunities that maybe will feed my passion. So, I mean, that's good for you. I mean, and like you said, though, nonetheless, probably had some sort of influence and help in your career. So that's good to know as well. So
for sure, and I mean, I don't have children of my own, but my sister have 2 children, and of course, I mean, they are pretty young still, but of course I will encourage them to go their own path in life. But I think any sort of university education is good, and then, like you said, even if you don't end up specifically in that area of studies, it's still an experience, and you learn something from it, which you will have advantage of later in life, I think.
yeah. Well, needless to say, this program is going to focus a lot on the world of James Bond, and so all the cues that you've chosen today are in that world of James Bond as well. The first one I thought we would take a look at is, I believe, from License to Kill. It's written by Michael Kamen. Sanchez in the Bahamas and shark fishing, extended version, if you will. Tell us a little bit about why you wanted to choose that amongst your favorites today.
Well, first, I think I should add that it was very, very difficult task to choose.
Believe me, I understand. I've asked myself sometimes if I were forced to come up with the same list, I don't know if I could do it either. So I understand. Believe me.
It was really challenging, I have to say, but because there's so much music from the Bond movies that I enjoy, and I don't really have, people like to discuss what is your favorite, etc. But I have many favorites, to be honest with you, and of course things that I like less. But in this case, I decided to choose these cues based on, not just because I like the music in them, but also because they reference something that has happened through me during my life as a Bond fan, you can say.
That makes sense. So why don't we sit back and have a
So
listen to this
with
then?
this first one,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah. No, I was gonna say that with this first cue, is obviously from taken when they're going to capture Franz Sanchez in License to Kill in the Bahamas, because they get a report that he's in the Bahamas. So I enjoy that piece because I think Michael Kamen did in general some good music for that film, I think, but also because I was once lucky to go to Florida and to the Key West, etc., to explore those filming locations they used there, and also the actor who played Franz Sanchez, Robert Davi,
Right.
has turned into a pretty good friend of mine. So and I keep in touch with him, and so that's, you can say, the main reason why I selected this first cue.
Makes total sense. Makes total sense. Well, let's have a listen for ourselves. Again, this is from the film License to Kill. The cues are called Sanchez in the Bahamas and Shark Fishing, and it's written by composer Michael Kamen. All right. Well, we've kind of skirted around it, but I think it's more important to really just ask the direct question, and that is, what was it that led to your having an interest in James Bond?
Very good question, obviously. I usually don't have a simple answer to it, because I think it was many things that led me into this path. But I did discover the Bond movies initially in the mid 1980s, thanks to my, well, he was a very good friend of mine and a neighbor where I grew up in Hjo. So we rented The Spy Who Loved Me on VHS.
Okay.
And we both thought it was spectacular, especially the opening sequence, of course. And I actually got to see it last week here in Stockholm at a black tie screening that I attended, and
Oh, wow.
it still holds up. I mean, it's a fantastically entertaining film, I think. So that sort of, kicked me off, so to speak. So after seeing that movie, I went to see all the other movies in the franchise up to that point, and then I discovered that you could collect. Obviously, you could collect a lot of things from the movies, but living in Sweden, it was a sort of a limited selection of products that you could buy over here. But we did have something very unique for Sweden actually, because we had a comic magazine back then called James Bond, and also they also did special comic albums. I mean, separate stories, but also stories based on the movies that had come out to that point. So they had done for Eyes Only, Octopussy, A View to a Kill. So I bought those comic albums, which were, you can say, the first Bond products that I ever bought for my collection. So that's how it started, and then of course quite soon after that I discovered Ian Fleming's books, that the films were based on them. So I started to read them one after the other, and also discovered, of course, that after he had passed, that there were two other authors, Kingsley Amis and John Gardner, had continued his legacy to write novels. I didn't read them at the time. I focused on the Fleming novels. But this was during my school years, of course, and having limited amount of money to spend on hobbies, because believe it or not, but I do have other hobbies as well.
I understand.
I play golf, which is not a cheap sport, and I also have
wow.
a very big passion.
We share that in common then. Okay.
Yeah, we should play. Then we should play.
I would love
next time
that.
I come to America, perhaps.
I would love that.
And also, I have a big passion for ice hockey. So obviously, I had to, use my money wisely.
Yes.
And but then you can say in the first half of the 1990s, especially 1993, because 1993 I graduated from secondary school, and my class, and I studied economy in secondary school, so my class were in charge of many things at school. So we actually made some money during the school, the last three years in secondary school. So we spent that money by bringing the whole class to London. So the first time I went to London was in 1993. And then, of course, a completely new world opened up for me. Because I mean, speaking of music, that's when I found all the soundtracks on CD. I'm sure if you've been to London, you back then they had two or three actually, three very very big record stores.
Yes.
In Piccadilly, HMV, Tower Records, and Virgin Records, I think it was called.
Right. Yeah.
So I immediately purchased all the soundtracks that were available, and then I think I was going to say that when I started to meet, like-minded people like myself in England, it wasn't actually then, because we only the people in my class, we just hang out together, so we didn't really speak to many English people then. But anyway, it woke up a new how should I say, a new passion within me.
Yeah, I mean, so I mean, you started off in the 80s watching a movie from the 70s, Spy Who Loved Me. What was the journey you took to discover the early films and the contemporary current films? What did you purposely go out and seek? Okay, let me see what this Sean Connery guy was all about, or how did that happen?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So shortly after I saw The Spy Who Loved Me, me and my friend, we rented all of the available films, which basically were everyone, because Bond is easy to access here in Sweden, especially back then. So they were all available on VHS. So
okay.
We binge watched all of them basically up to that point. But the first Bond movie I saw in a cinema was actually License to Kill.
Oh wow! Okay.
Because Living Daylights was not. I was too young at the time to see it in a cinema.
Yeah.
And my parents, they were not really cinema goers in that sense. So none of me or none of my friends, we were not allowed in to see that. So we had to wait till License to Kill.
That's interesting too, because License to Kill is one of the more violent films of the series, really.
That's right, but it was a 15, or how, I don't know how you say it in English, but PG-13 or PG-15
Okay,
or
yeah, I
something like that.
understand. Yeah.
And this 1989 was the year I turned 15, so that was fine to see
So your
see it.
parents couldn't stop you from seeing it. You could go in.
Exactly. And even though a side story to this actually, that the first time I saw License to Kill wasn't actually in the cinema. It was actually on VHS as well, because
Oh, okay.
back then, if you went to Cyprus or Hong Kong or places like that, you could actually buy new movies on VHS. I mean they had obviously been pirate copied,
Right. Yeah.
but
I lived in Asia, so I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
yes. So I had a friend actually in my class who went to Cyprus, and he came back with License to Kill on VHS before it came out in Sweden. So I actually saw it, but it was a very, very bad quality copy. So
I bet. Yeah.
it was not much of an experience. Although I do remember when I saw it, but yeah. So that's how it started.
Okay.
I mean, in short, the movies first, and then I discovered the Ian Fleming's novels, and then of course the big step was when I went to London in 1993, because as I said before, I graduated from secondary school in 1993, and was going into university, but having a summer job. Well, I had a summer job actually ever since 1990, if I remember correctly. So I had a little bit of money. So I discovered that there was this fan club in England called the James Bond International Fan Club,
Right. Yeah.
which Graham Rye was the editor or the president of at the time. It was founded by another guy, Ross Henry, in 1979, but Graham took it over. So I became a member of his club, and I also became a member of the James Bond Collectors Club, which Dave Worrell founded in
Okay.
1987, if I remember correctly. So I became a member of these two clubs, and obviously the passion started to really grow from there, because I discovered that they had published all these great magazines about the films and the phenomenon. So I as a member, you automatically receive them, but I also I bought all the old issues that were available at the time, and started to buy books, more books about the movies. For example, Stephen J. Rubin's book. I remember I bought, and actually one of the first film books I bought was actually a book by Lee Pfeiffer and Dave Worrell.
Yep.
No, sorry, Lee Pfeiffer and Phil Lisa wrote it. The Incredible World of
World of
007.
007, yeah. Yeah, that was a
yeah.
very interesting time, because prior to this time you're talking about, and unfortunately I'm kind of older than you are, there wasn't a lot out there in terms of books or magazines, and certainly we didn't have VHS or anything like that, and it was tough to come upon stuff. And then all of a sudden all that started to explode in the 90s. So you came upon it at a really opportune time, where there were videotapes and magazines and books and things like that. So yeah, I could see why you could catch on to it. Well, that's great, though.
And The Incredible World of 007 was a fantastic book for me to have, actually,
yeah.
because after primary school I moved to Gothenburg and to study, to prepare myself for engineering studies. But looking back at it now, my fondest memories is reading The Incredible World of 007 outside of classes, because that's what I was looking forward to most.
I understand.
During this period, and I remember I also read. I found the book that Roger Moore wrote when he was making Live and Let Die. I think
the
his
diary.
His
yes.
diaries.
That was fascinating. I love that book.
Yeah, that was also one of the first ones I read, and I loved it. I loved every section of it, and it really kept me going. Aside, outside of the studies, I should say, but it was good.
You still had to study engineering, but in the meantime, I'm going to look at this Bond stuff. I understand. I understand.
Yeah.
Well, let's get back to some music you chose. Another cue you chose. This is a very controversial film, by the way, amongst the Bond community. I'm talking about Quantum of Solace. Some people love it. Some people don't like it so much. You chose a cue from that, and I think I know what this cue is. It's the floating opera entrance, and it's again written by why am I having a
It's David Arnold.
David Arnold. Jeepers, I'm sorry. I apologize to David Arnold. I think I know what this one is, but tell us a little bit about why you chose this amongst your favorites.
Well, the quick answer is that I got to work as an extra on this movie.
Oh wow!
In Brigands, during the opera sequence.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, it's something that just happened basically, because I knew a member of the production crew, and he just emailed me and said that they need a lot of extras in Brigands, and I don't know if you're interested, but if you are, you need to fly down there to register and make sure that they have your contact details. So I said, because I didn't really have a dream about this prior to this, because I thought it was basically impossible for I mean, a person like me living in Sweden to be an extra, but in a Bond movie. But I said, why not? So I flew down there to Brigands, registered, and flew back home, and I didn't hear anything for like 1-2 months. So I asked my friend who was working on the film if it was still on, and he said, yeah, they just haven't selected which ones that they're gonna hire yet. So you just have to wait. So okay, so I waited, and then out of the blue, I just received a phone call basically, and they would like me to come down there, and also to ask if I was still interested to come, and I said sure. So I went there and spent about 2 weeks on not 2 weeks on set, but I was in Brigands for about 2 weeks.
Yeah. Wow.
And I had I think 5 or 6 days on set.
Oh wow. You got paid for each day, I take it.
Was even paid. Yeah, was even paid for it. So
yeah.
I didn't expect that, but that was a nice bonus. And obviously, I know all. I mean, that whole sequence in Brigands, I know it very well, because I saw everything being filmed basically. So I can tell you all about it in a separate episode, perhaps.
Now, of course,
it takes a long time.
The obvious question is, did you get any screen time? Can you see yourself?
I can indeed, actually. Which, as you know, even if you're an extra working on a movie, there's no guarantee that you will end up in the movie. So, of course, I could only hope for the best. But when the movie came out, I was still there.
It's exciting, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, I should give some credit to Guy Hamilton, the director.
Oh wow. Okay.
Because he became a very good friend of mine over the years, and I called him before I went to Brigands, and I said, do you have any advice for me? And he told me that, Andrews, whatever you do, you need to make contact with the second assistant director. And I said, okay, so why do I need to speak to that person? Well, he's in charge of the extras, so he's the one who's gonna choose which one goes where in the scenes that they were doing.
Uh-huh.
And then I told him that I actually already know him because I knew who it was, or one of them, I should say. There were several second assistant directors, but so he said, okay, then you're all set, he said. And cut a long story short, he was right, because when I got to Brigands, my friend, the second assistant director, saw me and called me and said, okay, you have to go in this scene, blah blah blah, and I said okay. So I just did that a few times, and Daniel Craig is there because basically Daniel Craig walks around me on his way. I mean, the audience members is going out to see the opera, so this is in the lobby, you can say, and Daniel Craig crossed my path and goes around me and kills this guy, in the toilet in the finished movie. And,
how exciting! That's great. That's great.
Yeah,
Well,
so that was a fun experience, I should say, but not as exciting as people might think it is, because
oh no,
it's so
it's a lot
much.
of waiting, isn't it? It's a lot of
Yeah,
standing around or sitting around and doing nothing. So yeah, I've been there, so I understand. But what a great
yeah.
memory, and I can certainly understand why you would have chosen this cue as one you wanted to play today. So let's have a listen for ourselves. This again from the film Quantum of Solace. It's written by David Arnold, and the cue is called Floating Opera Entrance. Let's sit back, relax, and enjoy. Some of my listeners, no doubt, will know about your talent management work. And one thing I'm really fascinated about learning is you obviously gravitated in a large part towards people who had been in the James Bond series. A lot of your clients are kind of connected to that. But one in particular is obvious interest to me. I actually had the pleasure of meeting him and having dinner with him many years ago, back in the 1980s. But I'm talking about George Lazenby, who has this distinction of being James Bond in only one movie on Her Majesty's Secret Service. I'd love to hear the story about how you guys got connected and ultimately ended up representing him as his talent manager.
Well, George and we first met in 2002. Well, I shouldn't say meet, actually, because I saw him. I attended the Royal World premiere of Die Another Day, and George was there, so I got to see him. And then the following year he did an event in Northampton, of all places, in England. So I went there to see him, and then I met him at a few different events over the following years, you can say. But I wouldn't say that we connected in those years. He might have remembered me or so, but we didn't really connect. And then in 2013 or 2012, it was actually. I heard a whisper that Chiltern in Switzerland, the location they used for George's movie,
Right.
they wanted to do a big Bond event with him and as many others still alive from the movie to be there as well. But they didn't know exactly how to reach out to George. So somehow my name came up in the discussion, and they reached out, and I said, yeah, I know how to get in touch with him. And so I sort of coordinated that and helped out a bit. And I also arranged for some of the other crew members who were there, Vic Armstrong and Jenny Handley and Catherine Schell and Terry Mountain, etc. And so we went there, and so I basically just went as a guest, you can say. And then I really connected with George during this event. And Chiltern actually treated us to a private dinner, me and him and Terry and Silvana Henriquez, and a few others. And out of the blue, basically, George just asked me during this dinner that maybe you should help me with more events.
Oh, wow.
And I said, yeah, sure. So he gave me his number, and he was off to London to Wimbledon after this. And basically things started from there. So it was really it was never my intention or my plan or to sort of represent these people, but it just happened out of the blue, basically. And I guess it means, I guess it's because obviously they found out that I work in business. I've been, like you said, I've been a business consultant or financial consultant, working for many companies, big companies and small companies here in Sweden. So obviously I have a long experience of finance and negotiation and things like that, which has been useful, of course, in my job representing these actors. But it basically it has escalated since then, because after George, other people have also approached me to ask me if I can help them.
Yeah, so if I understand correctly, then what you're telling me, I guess, is that George was your first client and was what started your business of representing talent. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Wow.
He was the first. Yes. Quite a name to start with.
Yeah, no kidding. And I mean, because I'm going to ask you another question about that here in just a little bit, but I'll save that for a little later. That's fascinating. That's really interesting. That's a great story about how that all got started.
Yeah, because I've been helping him now. He's officially retired,
right,
since last year. But I'm still his manager, and the requests for him, they keep coming in. Of course, we declined most of them because he doesn't want to do any more work, simply. But if it's something easy or he considers it. But we traveled the world together. We have been to Australia a few times. We've been to Canada, to many places in Europe, Hungary, Portugal, Switzerland, England, Sweden, and
I've noticed that. It's following you as I do. So yeah.
Yeah, it's been great, and playing golf also at these places, which has been, because he's a keen golfer as well. He likes sports in general, you can say, but especially golf.
Yeah.
And tennis.
Well, let's go back to the music for a moment. Another cue you chose is from one of my favorite scores in the Bond series, is the film called Thunderball, and you had chosen a cue that's called Underwater Ballet. Tell us a little bit about why you wanted to include that in today's favorites.
Well, I chose this cue because obviously it takes place during it takes place underwater in the Bahamas in the film, and I've been very lucky. I was very lucky actually in 2008, because back then this story actually is a story that continues from my work as an extra in Quantum of Solace, actually, because there is a society in England called the James Bond Golf Society, which I had a friend who was a member of a few years before me. And then I had asked this friend, how can you become a member? And he said, well, you can't just become a member, because you need to have worked on at least one Bond movie, and also be recommended by 2 existing members. But as I did work on Quantum, and I had 2 people recommending me, I became a member of this society in 2008. And the first event that I attended was a Christmas charity dinner at Pinewood Studios in November or December 2008. And during this dinner, they had a raffle with the top prize being a trip to the Bahamas and Miami for 2 people, all expenses paid, stay at the Ocean Club in the Bahamas, I ended up winning this top prize out of all the people. It was probably 300-400 people there, and they threw all these raffle tickets in a hat, basically, and Andrew Noakes, who is a co-producer on the last Bond movies, he was the one who was going to announce the winner. So he just put his hand in a hat, basically, and pulls up my number.
Wow.
Which I couldn't believe it, and so I ended up. That's how I ended up going to the Bahamas. So I went there in 2009 with a friend of mine, and it's truly one of the most amazing places I've ever been to, without doubt.
It is beautiful.
It's very beautiful, and obviously we did our own little location hunting there, and it was just amazing. And knowing that Sean Connery, of course, also lived there at the time, made it quite special. So yeah, that's the sort
Makes
of
sense.
the reason why I came up to this queue.
Yeah, it makes sense. And also, and people have talked about this before, when you've got a lot of things taking place underwater, there's no dialogue, there's very few sound effects, if you will. So it can become very dull or dead, if you will, that unless you have music backing it up. And in this case, John Barry did an excellent job of enhancing what you were seeing on the screen, even though it was underwater with no dialogue and whatnot. So anyway,
exactly, absolutely. I mean, completely agree. I mean, the music in underwater scenes is extremely important. And John Barry, of course, as we all know, he was a genius. And I mean, I could have chosen all of my cues from John Barry, but I just wanted to be I wanted to be nice towards the other composers as well.
Actually,
I guess.
And you know what? And I appreciate that, because if it were up to me, yeah, it would all be John Barry. But I appreciate the fact that you chose some others, so that's okay. That's okay. Well, let's have a listen for ourselves. This again from the film Thunderball. The cue is called Underwater Ballet, and it's written by composer John Barry. We'll get back to the program in a moment. Let me tell you, I couldn't do this program without support from listeners just like you. When you press like or comment on a particular episode, it helps grow our audience. Now, admittedly, my audience is somewhat small compared to other podcasts, but it is growing, and I thank you for that growth. Now, how else could you help me keep the podcast going? Well, by becoming a patron of the program through patreon.com. For as little as $3 a month, you help me keep the program going, plus you gain access to special bonus clips from our guests each episode. By being a patron, you could also end up being a featured guest on future episodes. So please consider becoming a patron by visiting patreon.com/whatsthescore. That's patreon.com/whatsthescore, and what's the score is all one word. Your support is valued and appreciated. Please go to patreon.com and support us today. Thank you. Now, I'm curious, going back to the talent management part of what it is that you do in your many different roles that you have, how difficult is it to manage all these people that are really just scattered all around the world? Time zone changes, and the fact that I know that you fly to different parts of the world in order to meet with your talent and those sorts of things. Has that been a very difficult process for you to do?
Well, in terms of communication with my clients, that's fairly easy, I would say, even if we are geographically in different places, because obviously you have telephone and email and WhatsApp and yeah, you name it, all sorts of tools that you can use for that. So that's fairly easy, I would say. But of course, when you go out with the client to events or shootings, or then you have to be on hand in a different way, because then you're attached to the person you're helping, so you can't really schedule in any other stuff.
Right.
But of course, in my case, it's a labor of love, because I love all my clients, and I'll do whatever they want me to do, of course. So I'm not complaining at all. Really, it's just a great thing to do in life, I think, because I really discovered that I really enjoy helping these people, and because I receive so much back from it, and I'm not talking about financial rewards. I'm talking about the relationship I have built with these people, and I'm a very open person and transparent person, which I think these people appreciate, and I think is probably the main reason why they ask me in the first place to help them, because I'm an honest guy, and like I said before, I have another career going in Sweden at the same time, so I make my money mostly from that. But this representation business was something that I never thought about before it happened, really, but I discovered how much I like it. So of course I would love to continue as much as possible going forward.
Now, who are, especially for my audience, and I suspect that a lot of these people are going to be Bond aficionados, if you will. So perhaps you could maybe, if you wouldn't mind, kind of tell us who are some of the people that you do represent, and what's their connection to the Bond universe.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Well, officially you can say I represent George, which has been mentioned before. I've also officially represented Catherine Schell.
Okay.
But she's also getting older. Gloria Hendry, I've done numerous projects with, but I'm not really her official representative, but I worked with her quite a lot over the years. And I worked with Christina Wayborn, who's in Octopussy. I worked with
is she still based in Sweden, I guess?
No. None of the Swedish Bond ladies actually lives here.
Yeah.
They all live in America.
Oh, okay.
They do come to Sweden, of course, every year. But Maud Adams, Britt Ekland, Christina, Isabella Scorupco. They all live in America,
Oh, okay.
and I've done a few things with all of them. You can say I was in Thailand with Maud Adams last year, for example, and uh, so it's most of the people I help is related to the Bond universe, you can say. But I've also helped local Swedish actors with certain projects, and but obviously George, being James Bond, he has been my, without doubt, my number one client, because I've done most of the work I've done for him, you can say, because it has been so comprehensive, and he's really put trust in me, and I don't want to let him down, of course. So I put a lot of time and effort in for him
Sure.
over the
Yeah.
years, and he's obviously also the most
Now,
recognized person in that sense.
yeah. Now, as a Bond fan that I am, and I am like a huge Bond fan and have been for, I'm ashamed, well, I don't know if I'm ashamed, but I'm shocked to say probably over 40 years or so. Do you sometimes have to pinch yourself that you're working with and meeting these people? I mean, it would, my jaw would drop sometimes, especially some of these women that are just, they're iconic and beautiful, still beautiful to this day. And I just do everything I could do to pinch myself, say I can't believe I'm talking with this person. Do you ever find yourself in that kind of a situation?
Um, I did it a few. I would say I did it a few times in the beginning, perhaps. But since all of them have become so close friends of mine, also, I don't feel that I'm talking to a huge celebrity, or I'm talking to a human being, and because
That makes
after
sense.
all, after all these A-list stars, like Tom Cruise and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and you name it. But I mean, after all, at the end of the day, they are human beings, and many of these people, I mean, they are being chased. I mean, just look at Sean Connery, and I mean, he couldn't move hardly after playing Bond,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
must have been very challenging and difficult for him. Of course, I haven't. George doesn't really get that kind of attention. I mean, he does in London, actually, I should say, because in London he's really famous still, I would say. But in most places I've been to with him, he's been fairly a private person, because well, he only did one movie, so people tend to forget that sometimes.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're free to say this either, but I am kind of curious, since you bring it up. Did George ever confide in you, if you're free to say, about did he regret maybe not continuing on with the series?
I wouldn't say that he ever said that he regretted anything. The only thing I picked up is that he has confirmed a few times that he should have done at least two movies, because there was a reputation for some time that he was fired, or they didn't think did a good job. But looking back at that movie today, which I think is regarded as one of the best movies in the series,
Oh yeah,
he was perfectly fine. I mean, he did a great job in it, and so to have sort of, I mean, for him to have been forced to, he has explained so many times to people why he left, but in retrospect, he said that I should have done at least two, because then he could have at least said that they invited me back and I did another one for them. In his stories these days, he says, of course, that he was offered more movies than one, but after all, he only did one. So in that sense, he has said that he should have done two, but he never said he regretted anything.
yeah.
Because
Eh,
knowing George quite well, he was never after the fame of it, because he had seen Sean and the fame that he got, and what it made for his life, and George never wanted to become famous in that sense. And personally, I feel that George felt a little bit uncomfortable to become so famous over one night. So I think that was the main reason, actually, why he left, to be honest.
yeah, my
I know
understanding.
that. yeah, I know his manager at the time advised him that Bond was over, and it was,
Right.
you know, it was going to be different times, and this was Sean Connery's gig, etc. But that's easy to say that that was a wrong advice now. But I personally believe that the main reason why he left is that he didn't really like to be that famous.
Yeah, and he was such an independent soul too, and because my understanding is that the contract that he would have had to have signed would dictate, how he wore his hair, what kind of clothes he could wear in public, and what kind of events he could go to, and those sorts of things, because they wanted to maintain an image. And someone like George, that's really independent-minded, said, I'm not going to be controlled like that. So I can understand that. I think. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
I think that's a really good point too, actually, because and that this is what I've learned with him, because I know he trusts me and I know he likes me, because I've treated him, professionally with respect all the time, and I've never
Right.
forced him to do anything. I had much more request for him, of course, than he did. I mean, jobs that he could have done if he wanted to, but for one reason or the other, he didn't want to do it. So I completely respected that, because, as you know, there are many managers out there who are chasing their clients for any kind of jobs because they want to make money on
Yeah,
them.
they want a
And
percentage. Yeah.
yeah, and I don't think that's fair, because after all, they're all humans, and you have to you've been given a trust to represent them. Then you need to treat that respectfully. I think, because I mean, George could have in one go he could get rid of me, if I didn't behave. But I think it's that easy. But I think he saw that in me, that I was never going to force him to do anything.
Yeah.
Plus the fact that he felt that he could trust me, which I think helped also, of course. But
Yeah. Yeah.
based on my predecessors, I think he said, I don't know any of them, so I shouldn't really comment. But I think he might have had not the greatest predecessors before me, because they might not have seen the real George behind the James Bond actor.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's get back to the music. And I was glad to see you chose from one movie that a lot of the John Barry fans aren't necessarily a big fan of the score from The Man with the Golden Gun. I happen to be one that is a big fan of it. And you chose a track called In Search of Scaramanga's Island. Tell us a little bit about what prompted you to put that in our list today.
Well, I think this cue is actually, I chose it because it's so beautiful. I think it's a really, really beautiful piece of music. And the fact that I was fortunate to go to this island
Yes.
last year to bring Maud Adams back there for the first time since she filmed the movie,
Wow.
made me, I think, was very, very special. I mean, this film, I know it's not the greatest Bond film of all of them, but for me it's always hugely entertaining when I see The Man with the Golden Gun, and because it was made in the year when I was born, and released 3 weeks after I was born, it holds a very special place in my heart. This movie.
And I'm one of those few people. I'll get criticized for this. I love this movie. I really do. I think it's the best Roger Moore movie of them all, to be honest. And I know a lot of people disagree with me on that, but
I certainly don't disagree with you, because I think it's hugely entertaining to start with.
entertaining. And Roger's kind of rough in this one, which I liked. Now, a lot
Yeah.
of people said he can't pull that off. That's not his persona or whatever. But no, he's an actor. He was able to. I thought he pulled it off, but
Yeah, it was pretty rough to Maud,
Yeah.
slap her in the movie, and no, I like this movie also very much, and I usually say that For Your Eyes Only, I think, is Roger's greatest performance as Bond, but
And-
I see
and
what you
I
I
could
see
see
what you
that.
mean with I see what you mean with The Man with the Golden Gun also, because he's pretty tough in that too.
I tell you, I'm so biased about John Barry's music that if For Your Eyes Only had had a John Barry score, no question I would say that was his best movie. No question. With all due respect to Bill Conti, that I really like, and he's been on the program, by the way. And he did a
Oh,
great
great.
score. Yeah, he's been on the program. You should look it up. It was a great episode, and he tells a really great story about working on For Your Eyes Only. But I liked the score that he did. Let's be clear about that. However, if John Barry had done it, I just think it would have been magic. But anyway, that's not to be. But let's
No,
have
but
a listen.
we live in a free world, so we can always wish for things.
That's true. That's
Maybe
true.
AI can recreate the For Your Eyes Only soundtrack by John Barry.
Actually, and we're going to talk about that here in a minute. Let's have a listen for ourselves again. This is the track we're going to play is from The Man with the Golden Gun. The cue is called In Search of Scaramanga's Island, and it's written by composer John Barry. You just mentioned AI, and someone in your position, I think, might have an interesting perspective on this. How have you talked to your clients anything about AI and the effect that may have on their careers, or in general, are you concerned in any way about what AI what might be the effect on the entertainment industry?
Well, first I'll give you my general opinion.
Sure.
My general opinion about AI is that I don't like it.
Yeah.
It's pretty scary, actually.
Yes.
I mean, I can certainly see advantages with AI in certain fields of business, absolutely. On the other side, if you're gonna make all businesses more efficient, because I think humanity will come to a point where, of course, it's great. It's great to be efficient because then the company makes more profit. But if everything turns into money-making machines, what's going to happen with all the people? What are people going to work with in the future?
Mm-hmm.
That's really what scares me the most. That I mean, the amount of people that is going to be affected by AI. I can see the advantages, absolutely, but thinking about humanity, which I think is very important here, what are people supposed to do in the future when AI takes over? And I haven't spoken to anybody who can explain that to me, because I think nobody knows really. But that's what scares me. But in the entertainment industry, of course, my clients are worried about AI, using their face or using their voice for to create things. And as far as I know, it hasn't really been properly regulated yet, because I think the politicians needs to act now. They cannot wait for they always say, oh, let's see what happens. But I think with AI you can't. It needs to be regulated ASAP.
It's I agree with you that it is scary, and I've already seen evidence of it being used in ways that I think are kind of questionable. At least at this point, a lot of times you can kind of tell when it's AI, but I know the time's going to come where you won't be able to tell the difference, and that's really scary. And it's a shame, especially in the creative world. There's certainly a lot of lines of work or business that are going to be affected by it, but it's a shame to take the human element out of the creative process.
Absolutely.
And yet, I mean, it can do a pretty good job. I won't say his name at the moment, but probably a mutual friend of ours or another James Bond aficionado. He loves using AI, and he actually put music to a poem that I'd written, something I'd always wanted done, and I thought he would do the music, but actually AI did the music as well as the singing on it. And that was,
Wow.
well, I was both kind of, really tickled that I finally had a song for my poem, but at the same time I was kind of like petrified that this was all done on a computer. My gosh. So
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing already what it can do, certainly. But looking through social media feeds, for example, these days, and you can easily spot when AI is involved, like you said. But it's going to be better, I'm sure. But it doesn't really interest me to see what AI has. I mean, AI can do in terms of music and video. I mean, I prefer humans to create the
yeah.
music I listen to and the movies I watch.
Well,
I don't want.
I'm just scared that people are going to be unduly influenced by whatever AI produces, and I don't mean just in entertainment, but news or politics or culture, whatever. That these people might see something on social media that's generated by AI and think, "Oh, this is true," or "Okay, now I understand. I guess I could agree with that." When it's something that's been produced by a computer. I mean, it's very frightening. And
Yeah,
so,
and it's also I'm also conflicted because AI uses a lot of energy. I
oh
don't know
yes,
I don't know the exact technical specifications, but as far as I have understood, it uses multiple times more energy for a simple internet. I mean, a search on the internet, for example, in comparison, AI uses much more energy. And where is all the energy going to come from?
yeah, that's no
That, that,
doubt going to be an issue going forward. No question about it. Well,
yeah,
let's go
because
on to a happier thing, and that's back to the music. Um, we were talking about George Lazenby a little while ago and his film On Her Majesty's Secret Service. There's a cue you chose from that. It's called Escape from Piz Gloria. Once again, obviously written by John Barry, which many people consider this particular score perhaps his best one. And I know that he felt like because there was a new James Bond, he had to kind of go over the top with his score and just really emphasize the Bond sound. And he certainly succeeded in that. But tell us a little bit about why you wanted to include that amongst your favorites today.
well, this might be the most obvious choice for the listeners, I suppose, because obviously it's connected to George, and George being a client and a friend of mine, and also because our sort of professional relationship started on top of Shiltorn in Switzerland, where the music, in this case, is referring to. Plus, like you said, it's a wonderful. That's another. I mean, the score, the complete score for Majesty is fantastic, I think.
Yes.
So I could have chosen any cues from that soundtrack, I think, but the reason I was that Piscloria or Shilton, as it's called in reality, it's a it's a sacred place for me, because I've been fortunate to go there 3 times with George. Only in summertime, I should add. So I really want to go there again in wintertime and ski, because I'm a skier. So I guess that's still on my bucket list to do. But hopefully someday I'll get to do that.
Can you ski from the top?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So that's available if you want to do it. Okay.
It's a little tricky because I mean, usually when you go to Shilton, you stay in a small village called Murren.
Murren, yeah, right.
And you have to take
the cable car. Yep.
But you have to change in Birk, because it's very steep to go up the last bit to Shilton. But I mean, I might be wrong, but as far as I understood it, you can ski from Shilton. But I don't think you can ski all the way down to Murren on the other side. But that's another story.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I suppose it depends on your skills as a skier,
Yeah,
if you can
probably
actually
so.
ski from Shilton or not. But yeah.
Okay, well, let's have a listen to this cue for ourselves. Again, this is from the film On Her Majesty's Secret Service. The cue is called Escape from Pisgloria, and it's written again by composer John Barry. So, what are your... Of course, the world of James Bond has been a little bit in flux since the last film came out and how that ended and whatnot. Looking forward, and this is a very broad question, and you can just kind of comment however you want to, but what are your hopes for the James Bond character, at least in the film world, going forward?
Well, if we should start with the last movie when he dies, I was quite...
Ooh, spoiler alert!
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I should have said spoiler alert.
No, I'm just having a little fun. That's okay.
Well, first of all, I have to admire the filmmakers for keeping that a secret, because obviously,
Boy,
as you
no
know,
kidding.
as Bond aficionados, we usually tend to find out things about upcoming movies. Not that I necessarily want to know everything about a movie before it comes out, because usually I don't actually, because I usually like to go blank when I see a completely new movie. But then afterwards it's a different story. But anyway, they kept this a secret, and when I attended the premiere in London and saw that he died, it was very sad. I mean, very, very sad ending, of course. And actually, I didn't choose Hans Zimmer's cue for this ending, but that's another piece of brilliant music, I think. But I didn't want to choose it because it makes me sad when I hear it. But so when he dies, I was very sad, and then the first thought that came to my mind was that okay, so this is the last film. This is the last Bond film. There's not going to be any more Bond films. And then I sort of accepted the fact that they killed him. But then, of course, when we look through the end credits, and at the end of it comes up James Bond will return. That's when I got really disappointed, because I thought it was I didn't approve of this ending. Let me put it like that. I like the fact that there's so much on Her Majesty's Secret Service over No Time to Die, of course. Not just the music in the movie that Hans Zimmer selected, which was taken directly from Majesty, but the ending, of course, is as sad as the ending of Majesty. But so I was a little bit disappointed about this ending. But now that we have a new captain of the ship, so to speak, with Amazon, who owns MGM now, and
Right.
now also, of course, have the creative rights to make the future movies. I'm slowly getting excited again, because I'm one of those people who tends to be optimistic about the future, so I certainly don't hope so, but I don't really think so either. That I think they're gonna make a decent Bond movie, and let's hope they don't screw it up. But I have pretty high hopes about the next movie, and slowly getting excited about it.
I'm just having a hard time getting my mind around. So how do they bring him back? Do they just ignore the fact that he died in the last movie and just kind of pick it up wherever, or do they go retro and back to the '60s, or
That's
I mean, have you thought anything about? I mean, I can't get my mind around how they reintroduce the character.
I think it's not going to be very complicated. I think we're just going to discover Bond in his earlier or younger years in comparison to the last movie.
Okay.
And I believe there's not going to be any reference to that movie in this one, obviously. So, because I mean, if you look at the whole series, if you go from one movie to the other, there's no red line from the first one to No Time to Die. I mean, they all exist within their own universe, you can say. So,
True. Yeah.
in that sense, it's not going to be any different, because obviously they're going to have a new actor and start a new sort of universe for this actor. So, and I think people will accept that, because people will have forgotten about the last movie once they've seen the next one, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, Bond aficionados, we tend to analyze things to the detail, and maybe not all for the better. Personally, I'm usually give anything new, anything Bond related that is new movie or a new novel. In general, I'm positive about anything. I don't really nitpick the movies like some people do, because I want to enjoy them. For me, it's still entertainment.
Right. Well, let's
But
let's wrap up the list of cues that you wanted to play. This is from the film Octopussy. The cue you chose was called "That's My Little Octopussy." Tell us a little bit about why you wanted to choose that to play today.
well, I guess that was the naughty choice of my music cues, you can say, based on the title. But as it is taken from a scene between Bond and Magda, Magda played by Christina Wayborn,
Ah, right.
who has been a client and a good friend of mine. I thought this was appropriate, and also the fact that Octopussy features no less than 3 actresses from Sweden: Maud Adams, Christina, and Mary Stavin.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And it's actually, if you look at cinema statistics in Sweden, Octopussy is actually one of the most successful ones in terms of ticket sales.
Huh.
So
Probably
over here,
because of
it's,
the Swedish actresses. I mean,
yeah, probably, I suppose, and because when the movie was released, Desmond Llewellyn actually came over to Stockholm to promote the movie,
oh, wow.
along with Mary Stavin.
Have you by any chance been to Udaipur?
I've never been to India, actually.
You
I
need,
would
to,
very
you need
much.
to go. It's amazing if you visit that city, and a lot of the locations on that film are pretty easily accessed, and actually, believe it or not, I can't speak for now, I guess, because it's been well over 10 years since I was there, but they used to have this little movie theater that showed Octopussy every single night. And
Yeah, I heard about this, actually.
yeah, and most people are familiar with it. And if you get a tuk-tuk driver to drive you around or whatever, they'll know where to take you to see the various locations and whatnot. And it's
Yeah,
quite a place
Maud
to visit.
Adams. Maud Adams told me this, actually, because she found out about it when she was last in India, and told me that they are still screening Octopussy there.
Yeah.
And it's funny you should mention India, actually, because there is, I don't have much information at the moment, but I do have an idea of going to India with a group of people, because I have become very friendly with Vijay Amirtray.
Oh yeah, okay.
I mean, forget about his connection to Bond, but he's truly one of the most amazing and nicest people I've ever met in my life.
Wow.
And he's a super human being, and he's been very supportive of this idea that I have, so we'll see if we can pull it off.
Well, we'll hope for the best on that. In the meantime, let's go ahead and have a listen to this cue. Again, it's from the film Octopussy. It's called That's My Little Octopussy, and once again written by the maestro, John Barry. So, Anders, I mean, we haven't really talked a lot about your website, From Sweden with Love, but I know that's also something that you spend a lot of time on. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about that and how they can follow you and those sorts of things if they're interested in your social media accounts and whatnot?
Yeah, sure. The idea for this website came to me because, as I said earlier, I started to really collect Bond memorabilia in the 90s, and it escalated quite quickly. So I realized that when I went to London, that I couldn't remember everything that I got at home. So sometimes I came back with the same products that I already have. So I had like duplicates,
Yeah.
which started to annoy me. So originally I set up this website entirely for my own enjoyment, because I kept a listing of stuff that I had in my collection, so I could check it when I was in England. But this idea, or this basic reason for me setting it up in the first place, soon changed completely, because I haven't really updated the memorabilia section since I think 2007 or so, and I launched it in 2004. So now it's turned into something completely different, you can say. So it consists of over 9,000 pages now, in both
Wow.
both available. They're all available in Swedish and English, which makes it unique, because there's no other website in the world available in both English and Swedish. And now, I mean, it has different sections. It has an interview section. It has an event section. It has a special articles section. It has a web shop, and yeah, of course, I cover all the books, all the movies, etc. And thanks to a great team that I have people from all parts of the world basically contributing to it in one way or the other.
I noticed that, yeah.
Yeah, which really which I'm very grateful for, because I simply haven't had time myself to spend as much on it as I'd like to. On the other side, of course, I spent thousands of hours on it already, so you can say, but I still get a lot of pleasure from it, because I enjoy promoting other people's products or events or things like that, and I believe I was one of the first to do so because I've been doing that ever since the start, really, or at least in the a few years after I started to do that. So now, of course, nowadays there's so many websites out there that it's gone inflation into the whole thing. But it's nice to know that mine is one of the now one of the oldest and one of the most comprehensive ones. And we're going into the 22nd year now, I think.
Wow, wow. And how do people find this website? What's the address?
The address is jamesbond007.se.
Okay.
And it will automatically take you, depending on where you surf in from. It will automatically detect if you're an English speaker or if you're a Swedish speaker.
Oh, okay. And
So
and on the 00, is that the number 0 or the letter O?
sorry, yeah, it's the number, so 007.
Okay, yeah.
So James Bond 007.
People who know my email address, I always make a mention of someone, if I give it to them, I said, look, it's not the letter 0. Excuse me, it's not the letter 0, it's the number 0. So, I mean, I have to clarify that. So just James Bond 007.se?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
And are there other social media accounts that people can follow you on if they're interested?
Yes, to the website there is an account on X, on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Blue Sky, Threads.
Wow, everywhere, huh?
Everywhere, and a YouTube channel also, actually, although it's not very active, but there's a couple of videos up there.
Okay.
Because it's a full-time job, really, to keep up with everything.
Oh, no kidding.
These days.
It absolutely is. Well, Anders, look, I've thoroughly enjoyed getting a chance to talk with you and learn a little bit more about you and not only you as a person, but also your passions and how you view the world of James Bond and whatnot. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed it as well.
I've very much enjoyed it, Frank, and thank you for having me. It's been my pleasure.
Yeah,
and,
no.
I thought I should actually end with a little anecdote, which
Sure.
your listeners might
Okay.
enjoy. So I never got to meet John Barry in person, so to speak, but I did enjoy a couple of concerts with him. And then, of course, after he passed away, I attended the memorial concert at Royal Albert Hall,
Wow. Yeah.
which was quite special when I think about it. But a few years after this, I think it was in 2012, I was interviewed in a local paper here in Stockholm. And the morning the paper came through the door, I basically at the same time I received a phone call from an older woman living in Stockholm. And the first thing she asked me is, "Have you ever heard about John Barry?" And I said, "Of course I have." How come you're wondering about that? And then she says that, well, I was together with him in the early '60s, and we have a daughter together.
Jane
And I said,
Birkin?
no.
No, okay.
Her
go ahead. I'm
name
sorry.
her name was Ulla. I actually forgot her last name now, but Ulla something. And then and then I said, okay, that's interesting, because I didn't know this at the time.
Yeah.
And then she told me that, because in Sweden you can easily look up where people live. So she told me that her daughter lives 500 meters from where I was living at the time.
Yeah.
And she works for the Swedish police. And she said, you should really get in touch with her. And I said, okay, this is interesting, but sure, I can give her a call if you give me her number. So she gave me her number, and I called up this daughter, and we connected, and the whole thing is true. So her father is John Barry, and it turned out that she also attended the concert, the memorial concert.
Huh.
Although of course I had no idea who she was at the time, but
Sure.
But I thought this was such a small world that, a person living 500 meters from me in Stockholm is the daughter of John Barry, one of my house gods.
Well-
Actually, another thing I should add, that Ulla told me that, because I did ask her, why why did you break up with John? Because after she gave birth, she moved back to Sweden and brought the daughter with her. And I said to her, why did you end your relationship with John Barry? And she said, well, you know, Anders, it's a little bit complicated, but the most simple answer that I can give you is that it's very, very challenging to live with a genius. And I thought that was very sweet.
That is. That's what a neat story. That's great. And by the way, maybe you haven't heard it, but I actually interviewed John Barry back in the '80s, and
wow.
And I have that as on the list of the podcasts that I have on my website. So if you're interested, you should. It's not an exhaustive interview, but it was highly personal, and I tell a story around it and that sort of thing. So you might enjoy at least hearing that. And not that you'll learn anything new necessarily, but still, I think it's kind of interesting. So
I'm gonna definitely check it out, Frank.
Please do. Well, again, my thanks for you for joining us today. I really have enjoyed it a great deal. I want to thank all our listeners for joining us today, as well as and especially our patrons. We've actually had a few people sign up here recently for being a patron on patreon.com. I'm appreciative of that. And I guess with that, there's only one thing left for me to say, and that's simply this, that my name is Frank R. Wilson. My time's up. I thank you for yours. Thanks for listening to What's the Score?